Unveiling Bigfoot, blending indigenous wisdom with modern exploration. Have you ever wondered if Bigfoot is more than just a legend deep in the forests of North America, where modern science meets ancient wisdom? The story of Sasquatch comes alive. Today, we're diving into the fascinating connection between Bigfoot and Native American cultures, exploring how their traditions shaped the search for this elusive creature. From cutting-edge research to sacred stories. Join us on a journey that's as respectful as it is revealing. Let's uncover the truth behind the legend. For generations, the legend of Bigfoot has captivated imaginations, sparking debates around campfires and fueling expeditions into North America's wildest corners. Is Bigfoot a myth, a misidentified animal, or something more profound? While modern science has sought answers through trail cameras, DNA analysis, and footprint casts, another perspective often goes overlooked: the deep, rich connection between Bigfoot and indigenous cultures. Across North America, indigenous communities have shared stories of large, elusive, human-like creatures for centuries, weaving them into their oral traditions, spiritual beliefs, and cultural frameworks. In this article, we'll explore how these indigenous narratives intersect with contemporary Bigfoot research, emphasizing the need for respect, collaboration, and cultural sensitivity. This journey promises to deepen our understanding of Bigfoot, not just as a cryptid, but as a cultural touchstone with profound significance. The search for Bigfoot has evolved from grainy photographs and blurry videos to sophisticated scientific endeavors. Researchers deploy thermal imaging, environmental DNA sampling, and audio recordings to detect signs of an undiscovered primate in North America's forests. Organizations like the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, BFRO, catalog thousands of sightings, from the Pacific Northwest dense rainforests to the Appalachian Mountains. Yet, despite decades of effort, no definitive physical evidence, such as a body or conclusive DNA, has emerged. This absence fuels skepticism, with critics arguing that Bigfoot sightings are misidentifications of bears, hoaxes, or folklore run amok. Enter indigenous perspectives, which offer a different lens. For many Native American and First Nations communities, creatures resembling Bigfoot are not speculative but integral to their cultural narratives. Tribes like the Salish, Lakota, and Hoopa refer to these beings by names such as Sasquatch, Squinity, or Oma, often depicting them as spiritual entities, protectors of the forest, or even ancestors. These stories predate European contact, suggesting a historical depth that modern Bigfoot influences. Indigenous knowledge provides more than folklore. It offers ecological and behavioral insights. For example, many tribal stories describe these creatures as nocturnal, territorial, and adept at avoiding humans, aligning with modern sighting reports. Some researchers, like anthropologist Kathy Strain, have advocated for incorporating indigenous oral histories into Bigfoot studies. Strain works with Native communities, notes that their detailed descriptions of habitats and behaviors could guide field research. For instance, the Hoopa in Northern California describe Oma frequenting specific valleys, which could narrow search areas for ADNA or camera traps. The intersection of science and indigenous wisdom isn't without tension. Western science prioritizes empirical evidence, often dismissing oral traditions as anecdotal. Yet indigenous knowledge systems, rooted in centuries of observation, challenge this bias. For example, the rediscovery of species like the coelacanth, once thought extinct, shows that local knowledge can outpace scientific consistency. By bridging these perspectives, researchers could unlock new methodologies, perhaps combining traditional ecological knowledge with modern tools like satellite tracking or drone surveys. The validity of Bigfoot sightings remains a polarizing topic. Proponents point to consistent eyewitness accounts, some from credible sources like park rangers or hunters. The 1967 eyewitness accounts, some from credible sources like park rangers or hunters. The 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film showing a large bipedal figure striding through a California forest remains a cornerstone of Bigfoot lore. Debated as either a groundbreaking capture or an elaborate hoax. Skeptics counter with the lack of fossil evidence or verifiable remains, arguing that a large primate couldn't evade detection in a world of ubiquitous surveillance. Indigenous perspectives add nuance to this debate. For many tribes, the question isn't whether Bigfoot exists, but what it represents. In some traditions, Sasquatch is a spiritual being, existing between the physical and metaphysical worlds. This view doesn't align neatly with scientific demands for tangible proof, but resonates with the lived experiences of communities who've coexisted with these stories for generations. For example, the Sisales people of British Columbia regard Sasquatch as a protector of the land, a belief that informs their environmental stewardship. Ignoring these perspectives risks reducing a complex cultural phenomenon to a yes or no question. Incorporating indigenous voices can also address biases in Bigfoot research. Many sightings occur on or near tribal lands, yet researchers often fail to consult local communities. This oversight not only misses valuable insights, but can also strain relations. Collaborative efforts, like those of the Native American Bigfoot Project, seek to bridge this gap by pairing indigenous storytellers with scientists, fostering mutual respect and enriching the search. As Bigfoot's popularity grows, fueled by TV shows, podcasts, and YouTube channels, so does the risk of cultural insensitivity. Indigenous stories about Sasquatch are often sacred, tied to spiritual beliefs or tribal identity. When outsiders commodify these narratives through sensationalized media or merchandise, they risk appropriation. For instance, using sacred names or symbols without permission can erode trust between indigenous communities and Bigfoot enthusiasts. Respect begins with listening. Indigenous scholars like Dr. Kim Tallbear emphasize the importance of engaging with native voices on their terms. This means seeking permission to share stories, acknowledging their cultural context, and avoiding reinterpretations that strip away meaning. For example, portraying Sasquatch as a monster in popular media often clashes with indigenous depictions of it as a guardian or teacher. Researchers and content creators also bear a responsibility to avoid trespassing on tribal lands or disrupting sacred sites in pursuit of Bigfoot. The BFRO has faced criticism for expeditions that disregard tribal protocols. Instead, enthusiasts should partner with indigenous communities, as seen in projects like the Sasquatch Summit, where tribal leaders share their knowledge alongside scientists, fostering dialogue. For viewers and creators alike, engaging with indigenous perspectives requires humility. This means amplifying native voices through interviews, collaborations, or supporting indigenous-led initiatives, rather than speaking for them. Resources like the book by David Paulides offer a starting point, blending modern sightings with native stories while striving for cultural sensitivity. The story of Bigfoot is more than a cryptozoological puzzle. It's a tapestry woven from indigenous traditions, modern curiosity, and the human desire to explore the unknown. Indigenous cultures have preserved knowledge of these beings for centuries, offering insights that enrich and challenge scientific inquiry. From the Salish tales of Sasquatch to the Hoopa's Omal, these stories remind us that the search for Bigfoot is as much about understanding ourselves and our relationship with the natural world as it is about finding a creature. Moving forward, the Bigfoot community, researchers, enthusiasts, and content creators must prioritize collaboration with indigenous peoples. This means respecting their stories, seeking their guidance, and acknowledging their stewardship of the lands where Bigfoot is said to roam. By doing so, we can move beyond sensationalism to a deeper, more inclusive exploration of this mystery. For viewers, the journey doesn't end here. Dive into indigenous perspectives by reading works like Sasquatch, Legend Meets Science, or exploring documentaries featuring native voices. Visit tribal cultural centers, attend events like the annual Sasquatch Summit, or engage with online platforms where indigenous storytellers share their traditions. The story of Bigfoot is a shared legacy, one that invites us to listen, learn, and explore with open minds and respectful hearts. Bigfoot remains one of North America's greatest enigmas, a bridge between the seen and unseen, the scientific and the spiritual. By weaving together indigenous wisdom and modern investigation, we can approach this mystery with greater depth and respect. Bigfoot's mystery blends indigenous wisdom with modern curiosity. Keep exploring and honoring these stories. Subscribe for more in-depth and mysterious Bigfoot encounters and stories on my channel. Share your thoughts below, like and check the description for more resources. Stay curious.